Now, he was Prime Minister 4 times and served as an MP for more than 60 years in the 1800s. But despite William Gladstone being remembered as one of the greatest PMs in history, his memory has now been rubbished by his own family, who will tomorrow travel to the Caribbean to personally apologise for their father's part in the slave trade. John Gladstone was one of the largest slave owners in the British West Indies, later receiving the equivalent of £10 million by the Slave Compensation Commission when slavery was abolished in 1833. William's education and career was funded by slaves, though the former PM did later go on to describe slavery as, quote, by far the foulest crime that taints the history of mankind. The Gladstones' ancestors have agreed to pay reparations to Caribbean islands, with William's great-grandson Charlie, who now lives in his old Welsh home, calling John Gladstone a vile man. So, Neil Oliver, what do you make of this? Is this all part of the desperate desire to try and taint our history?
Yes, I think so, Dan. Obviously, the Gladstone family can do as they please with their money. They can, as private people, they can choose to apologise for whatever they want. But obviously, as long as it doesn't pave the way for taxpayers' money being paid in some form of reparation, as long as it doesn't continue to normalise this notion that we in the present should somehow have to atone financially for things that were done hundreds of years ago. And as you say, it does feel like, it does look like, I think it's undeniable that it's just part of rubbishing Britain's past at the moment and seeking to make it look as though the only nation that has, that has ever had lamentable behaviour in its past, that only Britain is guilty of this historically. It's any wealth that Britain had, if the British Empire had amassed through whatever, all of that and more was sprayed up the wall and down the drain during the 20th century, especially in World War I, then again in World War II. Britain was financially broken by that. All of that, any and all of that money that had been amassed was gone. And any reparations paid now would be theft from British people who had nothing to do with the slave trade and who saw no benefit from it in any conceivable way.
No, indeed. And the thing is, Neil, this feels all part, and I spoke about it in my digest tonight, of an increased anti-English, I've put it straight, anti-white racism, which is spreading through the mainstream media at the moment. We saw it on Sly News with the attack on the Lionesses for being blonde and blue-eyed. We saw it with Sadiq Khan over the weekend, describing a white family as not being real Londoners. And with Dr. Scholler even trying to bring the despicable Lucy Letby case towards being racist in some way. Are you noticing this, Neil? Is this all part of the same thing?
Yes, of course, Dan. It's all part of hating Britain. And the British, and only Britain and the British. It's about seeking to impoverish Britain, finding more and more ways to run down Britain, British history, British culture, to steal away any remaining wealth from British people. And that, as you say, the hatred of the British is manifesting itself in hating white people. As you say, Mayor Sadiq Khan is not fond of white Londoners, or I think I'm right in saying white bus and tube drivers, thinks there's too many of them. Racism is human nature. And I suppose if there's anything that we really should be paying attention to, it's that it's in the natures of some white, brown, Asian people, all sorts of people will give free rein to the racist natures when it's made socially acceptable to do so, or especially when it's made socially acceptable to do so. And now in Britain, it's not just socially acceptable to hate white people, it's downright fashionable. To say that there's too many blonde-haired, blue-eyed women in the national football team is fine, apparently. To say that white mums, dads and their children don't represent real London has been the point of view of the Mayor of London. If a white mayor had put something similar in the public domain about black, brown or Asian people not representing London, he or she would be out of a job so fast their feet wouldn't touch the ground. But when Sadiq Khan does it in the present climate, it's no real problem. Racism is back in fashion. Hating Britain is all the rage. Hating white people and speaking about it is socially acceptable. These are dangerous times, but let's remember what's really going on here. This is just more of the same campaign of deliberate divisiveness. We are being set at one another's throats. All of us, all creeds, all colours, all ages, both sexes are being set at one another's throats. By Khan and his backers in that instance, most people in this country, white, black and brown, have more to worry about being the parlous state of their society, the gloomy state of the economy, the forever war in Europe, 15-minute ghettos, the climate hoax, the works. And the vast majority of people look at stunts and frankly, that's what the Gladstone family are pulling here. It's a stunt. And they look at the deliberate provocation by people like Sadiq Khan and the people that you name check there in relation to the English women's football team. And they just want to say, get lost. Yeah. The whole damn lot of you, get out of our faces of all colours and give us peace.
Indeed, if only that were going to happen. Of course, both sides of the story here on GB News. Sadiq Khan insists it wasn't his words, although it was the words of his team. And Charlie Gladstone, William Gladstone's great-grandson, said John Gladstone committed crimes against humanity. That is absolutely clear. The best that we can do is try to make the world a better place, and one of the first things is to make that apology for him. He was a vile man. He was greedy and domineering. We have no excuses for him.